Hello and welcome to Global Matters. On this program, we'll bring you issues of international relevance to Africa and indeed Nigeria on global matters as they affect Nigerians and indeed Africans. We shall be examining Medical and Dental Practitioners Act Amendment Bill 2002, which is proposed to make it compulsory for graduates in medical and dental fields to render services within Nigeria for 5 years before being granted full license. On the show today, we shall be looking at the implications. This amendment bill has continued to generate a lot of controversies and criticisms from concerned practitioners in Nigeria and the diaspora. The bill is titled A Bill for an Act to Amend the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act Cap M379, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to mandate any Nigerian trained medical or dental practitioner to practice in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years before being granted a full license by the council in order to make quality health services available to Nigeria and for related matters. The bill, which has passed the second reading, is sponsored by Ganiu Johnson, APC, Lagos. Honorable Ganiu Johnson believes the bill will check the mass exodus of medical professionals from Nigeria. Let's take a listen to that bill presentation by Ganiu.
Notice that there is heavy decline on medical brain drain. From 24,000 to now, as I speak, we have less than 10,000 doctors in Nigeria. So that is alarming. So I now thought to myself that, okay, let us look at our laws, what is happening. I noticed that, look, the vacuum is that immediately after housemanship, we notice that most doctors, because of greener pastures, there is a capital flight from Nigeria abroad to UK, America, and all that. Now, government has invested so much money in training these medical doctors. So if you realize, if they can now take advantage of our situation, okay, and now open their doors, because just recently in 2020 UK opened healthcare and visa to people. They were all going to UK and US too and Canada. So what should we do? Should we fold our arms? So now I said, okay, maybe to give back to the society, that is to our people, after training you. Yes, we are not saying you cannot go abroad to make your money, but if government has subsidized your tuition, okay, I mean to the tune of 40 to 150,000, the least we can get from you is that after your housemanship, before you are given full license, before you are given full license, before you are given full license, at least you can give back to the society within a period of 5 years. So after 5 years, you are free to go. At least you've given back to the society.
Ganiu of the House of Representatives representing Lagos making a defense concerning the bill on 5 years mandatory service in Nigeria before medical and dental practitioners can actually seek alternative career or alternative job opportunities outside the shores of Nigeria. Meanwhile, information on the updated code of practice for international recruitment of health and social care personnel in England shows that Nigeria and some other countries have been placed on the red list of countries that should not be targeted for active recruitment by health and social care employers in the United Kingdom, unless there is a government-to-government agreement. We shall be looking at the issues this bill has thrown up, its possible implication for Nigeria and the medical profession in the country. Joining me on the show today is Dr. Emeka Ugu. Dr. Emeka Ugu is the president of the Nigerian Doctors Forum in South Africa. He's joining us from Pretoria. And also expected to join us on the program is the Vice President, West African Commonwealth Medical Association. That is Roland Igbovo. He's expected to join us in the course of this program. We shall be going to Pretoria now to bring Dr. Ugu on the show, but that will only happen when we come back from the short break. Don't go away. We work to bring you global issues that shape the world, issues of global agenda that determine our national and common interests, our interests especially in Africa and indeed in Nigeria. And we bring you the behind the scene of the stories through our studio analysis.
Good and efficient legal process is one of the main things that we realize lead to the breaches of human rights in Nigeria.
My assessment of the war in Ukraine is very unfortunate.
The reports and the evidential base we're getting about attacks upon Christians, attacks upon Muslims.
We follow the stories and bring you the report from anywhere to everywhere. This is Kavi Oscar. This flight is heading to Budapest. I'll be boarding this bus now. Is heading straight to Medica with this hand that has represented the symbol of unity after the war in Rwanda, either global, foreign or diplomatic relations, even diaspora matters. We bring you all here on Global Matters. Thank you for taking the time to join us on the show. We're still on Global Matters. We're looking at the issues around placing a mandatory 5-year service on medical and dental practitioners immediately after graduation in Nigeria before they can seek alternative employment outside the shores of Nigeria. And that bill is titled a Bill for an Act to amend the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act (CAP) M379 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to mandate any Nigerian trained medical or dental practitioner to practice in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years before being granted a full license by the council in order to make quality health service available to Nigeria and Nigerians. And for related matters, this bill has generated a lot of controversies and criticism. The bill as it stands now has passed second reading. There are some representatives. There have been a lot of issues. Nigeria Medical Association in and outside Nigerians have continued to, members of the Nigeria Medical Association in and outside Nigeria have continued to express their opinion and criticism to this position. But I'm now being joined by a medical practitioner, a Nigerian practicing in South Africa, Pretoria specifically, and he is the president of the Nigeria Nigeria Doctors Forum in South Africa, Dr. Emeka Ugu. Dr. Emeka Ugu, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to your program.
I'm very definitely sure that you have indeed been following what is happening in Nigeria. I've seen a couple of what you said on and offline and some of your concern you have raised. Can I ask you to speak to this bill and your concern?
Well, I think the only good thing about this bill is that it has brought to very sharp focus the issue of the Nigerian health system. You know, generally, not just about doctors and dentists, and also what the bill has spoken about. So perhaps without this bill, we wouldn't be talking about our health system. So to that effect, I am saying that that is a positive one. But aside from that, I honestly think that this bill is ill-conceived. This bill is insensitive. This bill is inhuman. And it is not in the best interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. I think the bill should be rejected by all and sundry. I am still happy that it is still going to go through the third phase of reading, and after then the lower house will decide on it. Then after it will go to the Senate. And it is my hope and the hope of my colleagues probably that along the line this bill should be discarded for Nigerians to be able to progress. But as I said, it has brought to a sharp focus this kind of discussion to look critically into our health system. So it's a good thing.
Right. If you take a look at the reason Honorable Ganiu Johnson, APC representing Lagos, has alluded to the presentation of this bill was to stop the Jackpism syndrome, if I may put it that way, where you have Nigerians different professionals leaving Nigeria to seek greener pasture. I indeed do not agree the greener pasture is outside the shore of the country. But however, medical doctors or medical practitioners, health practitioners leaving the shores of the country, going abroad, between 14 and 20,000 medical Nigerian doctors on the payroll of the National Health Service in the United Kingdom and other ancillary services just in the United Kingdom. We're not even talking about the US. We're also not talking about Canada. In South Africa, probably you're almost 1,000 plus or 2,000, I don't know. And so we have medical doctors, Nigerian born medical doctor practitioners spread in different countries of the world. Meanwhile, Nigerians are lacking in first quality healthcare service and indeed the doctors that should handle them. What is wrong in this bill? This bill is meant to put an end to this problem.
Well, I think everything is wrong with the bill. The question should be, why are Nigerian trained doctors and dentists leaving the country? Just like many other young Nigerians, why are they leaving the country? If we can put into perspective that question and try to gravitate towards the answers to that question, maybe we may start a useful discussion that will help our country to mitigate this tsunami of young professionals, Nigerian doctors and dentists, and indeed other people living in the country. So I think that should be the focus of the discussion. I'm not sure how many South African doctors that are practicing in Nigeria. I doubt if there's any. I doubt if there's any UK doctor that is immigrating to Nigeria to come and work. Likewise, a Canadian or Australian doctor rushing to Nigeria to come and work. So why is it that we are gravitating towards other countries and the other country members are not gravitating towards Nigeria? So that is the crux of the matter. And I think we should look at it from that perspective in order to find a lasting solution to this debacle and this menace of us having a continuous void in our health system where we don't have enough doctors and dentists and other health professionals to tackle our health needs. So the bill should have been looking at what are the things, what makes a doctor, an average doctor, to live, for example. So if I may look at some of the things, I think there are a lot of issues both within the medical system and outside the medical system. So if we look at the medical system, we're looking at training. We're looking at training as a medical student. We are looking at job opportunities after graduation. We are looking at training after graduation in terms of residency training. We are looking at welfare packages, remuneration within the system. We're looking at the kind of hospitals and the quality of a hospital that you train in. We're looking at those who are training you. So looking at all this and the health policies that galvanize and govern all these things. Then we're looking at issues outside the medical profession, so to say. The insecurity in the country is quite alarming. And a lot of Nigerian doctors have been kidnapped in the recent past years. And I honestly do not think that any doctor who would want to, after so many years of horrendous years in medical school, you would want to be kidnapped just like anything, when you have options of where you can go and better your life and also have better skills, have better remuneration, and even assist your family who had spent so many years suffering in order to see you through medical school, to assist them better. So this bill should be looking at those kind of things. And also, why is it that Nigerian senators, for example, are not leaving the country when they are senators? Why is it that Nigerian members of House of Representatives are not leaving to Canada or leaving to United States of America, for example? So we need to look at this and say, what is it that could make somebody stay back in his country? It goes beyond patriotism, because you can only be alive in order for you to contribute positively towards your country. So I think we should be looking at these factors and these issues.
All right, just as you said, let's take a look at some of these issues you have raised. Let me start on the issue of training. What is a problem with training in the country? And I want to start on this basis. For undergraduate students in public university, say in federal university studying medicine, the average tuition fee probably per annum on the whole is less than 200,000 naira. On the whole, less than 200,000 naira federal university. While if the same student were to be studying somewhere in Canada, in the US, per annum would not be less than, say, in the United Kingdom, about 25,000 pounds. 25,000 pounds as a medical student. 200,000 naira. And the argument is the tuition fee being paid by medical doctors undergraduate studying medicine is being heavily subsidized through different means, State Fund, Ministry of Education, the Presidency's intervention. And it is expected that having enjoyed some level, either scholarship, subsidy, they should put in some level of service into the system that has helped them to acquire that qualification. That's the first argument. What do you say about that?
I think the issue of subsidy, to me, is a misnomer. It's not a true nomenclature, so to say. The name is not what it is. You are talking, the amount a medical student may be paying in Nigeria may not even be up to what somebody in South Africa may be paying for his child who's in primary school per month, for example. But the thing is, we don't look at that in isolation. We don't look at the amount in isolation. But what does the amount give you? What does the money you pay give you? If you come to an average Nigerian university or medical school, for example, how many students do you see per cadaver in an anatomy laboratory, for example? How many students have electronic facilities to assist with their learning and connect with other people internationally in order to make their training standardized in terms of international standards? How many medical schools in Nigeria have, for example, medical laboratory where you could, as a medical student, after your very hectic number of hours in class, you can go and study, without issues? Far back as when I was in medical school, there were no places like that. And I'm sure the situation is even worse now. We used to go looking for zoological gardens, uncompleted buildings around the universities to find a quiet place where we could study. So those are not comparable to what you find elsewhere in organized societies. You can't compare those at all. So the facilities are nowhere near what we find at home. What drives the people to finish is that natural resilience we have, that natural tenacity, and that natural, focus on the mission that you want to graduate as a medical doctor, because every person is waiting for you. So the subsidy, to me, is not true. It's not a true reflection of what the situation is. When you say you subsidize education, what it means is that for somebody who is in America, for somebody who is in South Africa, is getting something at par with you in terms of facilities and their teaching and other things, but yours is, the amount you're paying is much less than what the person in another country is paying. That to me is subsidy. So how do you define subsidy? Is this just that we're paying? And moreover, when this doctor graduates, when he starts internship, can you quantify, the amount he receives relative to that of somebody in South Africa, relative to that of somebody in the United Kingdom, relative to that of somebody in US or any other country that we are rushing to? So how do you define this subsidy? So I think it's a confusing statement.
Right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Emeka Ugu, the President of Nigerian Doctors Forum in South Africa, journalist from Pretoria. May I just ask you to stay on the line while I quickly connect with Roland Aigbovo. Dr. Roland, he's the Vice President, West African Commonwealth Medical Association. Dr. Aigbovo, thank you for joining us. I've got a few minutes left, but that few minutes, let's take a look at the issue of this bill being proposed by Honorable Ganiu Johnson, mandating 5-year service for medical doctors in Nigeria before they are granted full license and or seek employment outside the country. Why do you think this is a bad bill? Why do you think this bill is not a national bill? It's not a patriotic bill, considering the level of exit from Nigeria, doctors that are desperately needed in the country.
All right, thank you very much for having me. The truth of the matter is that this bill is actually set up to fail, not to address any issue. Because before you come up with such a bill, you need to understand that what are actually the remote causes? What are the pull and the push factors responsible for the brain drain? Because if you are taking a cursory look at these factors are responsible for doctors, not just doctors, health workers, and even other professionals. Let's the discussion about doctors now, for moving out of the country. Now you begin to speak to those issues one after the other, to the view to addressing those issues and keep the Nigerian doctors in the country, and not just coming up with a 5-year rule. Like I mentioned earlier to someone, it just shows that the Honorable, with all due respect, does not understand how the medical education and medical practice is. Because after graduation, you are given a provisional license to undertake your housemanship. And after your housemanship, then you are given full registration and full license to practice as a medical doctor. Now, if you're saying you have to spend 5 years before you are given full registration, then what happens? Is it that they're going to give a provisional license for 5 years or 6 years? Or they're going to give an intermediate license for the doctors to practice before the full registration? So he really does not understand how the medical education, and that's why he's coming up with such a bill. Now, if I may address some of these issues, is that if there's nothing wrong in saying Nigerian doctors should practice for 5 years before that's bonding. And if you want to bond doctors, you should be able to play your own part in bonding. Now, what role has the government, other than, well, that's the question. What role has the government played in educating any of the doctors? Because the school fees that medical student pays is higher than other people, other professions, and we stay longer in school. It's not that there's a special incentives for us to say, okay, because you're a medical student, take this as a stipend or stuff. You are not providing student loan, interest-free loan. You are not providing scholarship. So on what basis are you then saying that doctors should actually work for 5 years before going out of the country? So it's of no basis. And that bill, for me, I think there are better things to do or better actions to take towards addressing the brain drain than coming up with this obnoxious bill.
Dr. Aigbovo, thank you so much for, unfortunately, you came in a little bit late to join us on the show today. I'm afraid this is how far I can go. But we're going to take a look at this issue again. It appears it's an issue that we need to deal with very well. But I do not have the time on the show today. I may have to leave now. Sincere appreciation to Dr. Emeka Ugu, who is the president of the Nigerian Doctors Forum in South Africa, who has spoken his mind vehemently against this bill. And joining us also Dr. Roland Agbovo, Vice President, West African Commonwealth Medical Association, who also believed this bill is not in the interest of practitioners and especially people in the country. We'll come back to this issue maybe sometime very soon. Sincere appreciation to the two of you gentlemen for taking your time out of your very busy schedule to join us on the show today. Thank you so much. Very appreciated.
Thank you very much.
And to my colleagues who have made this program very possible, thank you for taking the time to make sure that this is done. Thank you. And to everyone at home, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.